Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I want to look at an end game with you guys today. And I know that I talk a lot about the end game, and I don't really have time because I'm terrible at time management. So I don't have time in a lot of my games to articulate my thoughts in the end game. So I want to take a look at this game with you guys. And this is a pretty good end game. What's it say I played? 94% in the end game. So we did have a good end game. So all right, let's look at the game first, and let's get to the end game. So e4, e5, we get a wayward queen attack, and we get this business here. Kick the queen away. Develop standard stuff. Okay, and then I take and make a mistake. All right, but he didn't take my knight. So I can come back, and I do lose a piece, but he didn't take the knight. So he effectively traded his light squared bishop for my dark squared bishop. But this is a problem because now my king's weak. But see what we do here, right? He's wanting to jump his knight in, is the plan, right? So I can't let him do that, so I play this. Now this is not perfect. By no stretch is this perfect, all right? But, I get rid of his bishop, which his bishop is controlling the dark squares around my king, and then getting rid of it, I help shore up my weakness, okay? Now, offering the queen trade, if he trades, that's great for me. Takes, I develop my last piece and kill his initiative here, okay? He takes there, I recapture, still threatening that trade. Takes, and there goes the attack, all right? So, I develop the bishop. Rook comes in, and I immediately challenge the open file because I cannot let him double up on the file, right? So takes, and here comes the king. Now this is not perfect. This isn't perfect. I hit the rook, force the rook to do something. He goes back. I challenge the open file. He takes. I recapture, and we find ourselves in this endgame. All right? So this is where I want to start kind of really getting into what's going on here. So straight away, we've got a king and a king and pawn endgame where we both have a minor piece. Okay, a knight versus a bishop. We're not going to get crazy into the weeds on knight versus bishop endgames, but it's notable. The thing to note here is, the bishop can go anywhere on these light squares, very easy. A knight needs a jumping spot, right? A landing point to get to another place. And that makes this pawn incredibly valuable because it's limiting the moves that he has. He could go here and maybe jump in like that, but it's limiting his options, this pawn, right? It's a good pawn. So what does he do? He immediately tries to get rid of the pawn. Now, what does he want? Right? He wants me to take so he can recapture. And now the knight's super active. He's threatening to jump into here and take this and blah blah blah. Right? We're not gonna let him do all this. All right? Bring the king up. Now that was inaccurate because I could go here and then stop this move. Okay, I didn't see that. I'm not perfect. So takes, and I bring the king up. All right. So now let's. How do you win a game like this? Right? Because it's gonna be really hard to get a checkmate with this, okay? It's not impossible. You could walk into a checkmate. Believe me, I've done it when nothing's on the board. But what you want to do here is you want to get a queen. You want one of these pawns to promote, okay? So now the evaluation, by the way, going all the way back here, at this point, it's plus 0.1. So it's a little tiny bit in favor of white, but it's basically an equal game. Okay? But this mistake gives me a plus 1.77 advantage. So it's definitely in my favor. I give a little advantage back, but now it's plus or minus in favor of black, minus 1.4. Okay? So we're doing good here. But he's playing this, defending this, and stopping my king from coming in, right? The knight controls this square, the pawn controls this square. So the king's going to have a hard time getting into the game. But I just play here. And the idea is, I want to take this pawn. How are you going to defend this pawn? This guy can't do it. I mean, he can, but if I get here, I'm going to fork these two guys. So, all right. So that's what I do. He comes over. I hit the pawn. Now that means the knight's stuck, unless you want to give up a pawn. King comes over. I do fork him. He comes back with check. I take the pawn. He jumps into the center, and this is really where it kind of starts getting away from him. I take, he takes, and now you have a pure king and pawn endgame. All right? So, going back to what I was saying, there's my AirPods. Man, I was looking for these today, and I couldn't find them. They're laying on my desk. Anyway, how do you win a position like this? You promote a pawn, right? When you get rid of your minor piece, your knight, you're not able to attack as wide of an area, right? You don't want to get rid of your minor piece, especially when you're down. I mean, if you're trying to get a draw, cool. But when you're down like this, you're down a pawn. I just have more pawns than you do. And by the way, I have a 2-on-1 advantage over here, right? So you want to, when you get here, you want to take stock of the situation. The big thing is, how do I win, get a queen? How do I get a queen? I'm going to need to promote a pawn. Well, step one, do I have a passed pawn? Well, in this case, no, I don't. He does, but it's fairly easy to stop. You go here and you stop it, right? So he does have a passed pawn. I need to make a note of this. But do I have a pawn majority that could be converted into a passed pawn? I do, right here. These two versus this guy, if I could push that, one of these pawns is going to become a passed pawn. And a passed pawn means you're going to have to move the king over to stop it. Okay? So that's what I'm thinking about. Now, is his threat serious? Not really. I mean, it's not. He does have a passed pawn, but it's fairly easy to stop. This can't become a passed pawn, not with just a pure pawn push. And these, as far as I can tell, don't have a way to become a passed pawn either, right? So I'm not really worried about either of this or this. I just need to stop this and find a way to get these up the board and make one of these a passed pawn. So that's what I'm thinking here, all right? So how do we go about this, all right? Well, first things first, I need to get the king out of the way of this pawn because, remember, these two are my advantage. I need to push these and get a passed pawn. This is in the way, and it also allows me to come over and hit this, okay? So we come over. He brings the king, and they want him to play this, solidifying the pawn, but also stopping the b5 push. Look at this evaluation. Jumps up to 3.6. That's almost a rook's worth of advantage. That's a big difference, right? Because you're allowing me to sneak in up here, and he doesn't play it again, so now I go for it, okay? And now it is a rook's advantage. You got a big problem. So let's go back here. Of course, I screwed that up, but all right. Kick the rooks out. Boom. Come around. We win that. And we go here. All right. So remember what I said. How do you win this position? Get a passed pawn or stop your opponent from being able to get a passed pawn. Well, he doesn't play this move. He plays this. Okay? And again, look at that evaluation. So in the last couple of moves, he's given away a massive amount of advantage. Right? And the thing is, does this move help you stop my ability to turn one of these two into a passed pawn? Because remember, that's what you need to be thinking about when you get here. Do I have the ability to make a passed pawn? Does my opponent have the ability to make a passed pawn? Because that's how you're going to win. All right? So these are the things you need to worry about. This doesn't help you. Right? So he doesn't stop me from doing this. He plays a pawn move that doesn't help him or stop me. So I do that. And he plays here. That stops me from moving either of these two pawns. That's great. But the problem is I don't care about this. None of this is important. This is my advantage right here. Right? So you're doing this stuff on the side of the board that doesn't make any difference, and now we push the pawn. Okay? Because remember, I want a passed pawn. So we push the pawn. He pushes up, h4. Does that help him create a passed pawn? No. Does that stop me from creating a passed pawn? No. So we continue on with the plan here. And now look at the evaluation. 6.23 in my favor. Now you can't go here. You can't go here. Right? And these pawns are just rolling. What are you going to do about it? F3. Does this help him create a passed pawn or stop me from creating a passed pawn? No. So this doesn't help your position. So what do I play? B3. Does B3 help me create a passed pawn? Yes, it does. Because now, if you don't take this, I'm gone. See you. But if you do take, which he has to do, I'm going to take back, and now this pawn is completely unopposed 2 squares away from promoting. So now you've got to stop this pawn or it's over. It's over. You have to stop it. So he goes back. In order to stop it, you're going to have to give away some pawns, right? So he steps back. Now, this pawn, I get the hiccups. This pawn is dead. I can't save this pawn. I can't save it. So there's no point there's no point in investing more of my tempos into this pawn because it's lost. I can't save it. He's in the box. I can't save it. Right? But the threat of that pawn is worse than the execution. You've heard that expression? You have to stop it, but I don't have to push it. You have to deal with this whether I move it or not. So I take the pawn because I know that you have to go over here now, right? You've got to go over here. So he does, okay? You don't want me to bring the king in and start escorting this pawn. So I bring the king here. So I'll give you just a second. What's the move here? What's the move here? Well, I think it seems fairly natural to play b2 because you think, well, you push, the king's a little further away. That's true. But he has to stop this pawn. If I spend one move on this and he spends one move on this, right, that cancels each other out. So when he comes back, he's invested one tempo in this pawn. One more than me, right? But I don't have to invest any more tempo in this pawn because it serves its purpose just being here as a thorn in his side. So the move is e4. And the reason for this is just like over here, now I'm creating another threat of a passed pawn, right? Because if you just push forward, I'm gone. And now you've got 2 pawns to stop, and you can't stop them both. They're too far. They're too far advanced. You can't stop both of these pawns. So taking is forced. You're forced to take. And then I step over. Okay? Now, remember, this pawn, it's dead, but you have to stop it. You can't leave this, or you're going to give up a queen. So he invests one tempo, right? And instead of me having pushed that, now that tempo that I would have spent pushing it, I'm going to spend doing something else, going after his pawns. He spends his second tempo, so 1 to capture, 1 to come back. That's his second tempo that I get for free, and I step over to the side. So now this is lost. This is over. What do you do? Oh, come on. I start a YouTube video, and then I get a Discord call. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. How do I stop this? Hold on. My buddy's wanting to play that Schedule 1 game, and I'm playing the doing the YouTube thing. So anyway, so he spends 2 tempos, 1, 2, and I get to spend those 2 tempos getting closer to his pawns. He brings the king over. I win a pawn. King comes a little closer. I win another pawn, and he resigns. Okay? So this all goes back to understanding what it is exactly that you're trying to do. You know, to have that understanding what it is specifically that you're looking for. From all the way back, right here. I'm up 1 pawn. But being up 1, like you see these grandmasters say, oh, he's up 2 pawns. Game's over. What does that mean? Right, to us low-rated players, man, intermediate players, what does that mean? When you break it down into you know, kind of the smaller elements here of what you're actually talking about, it means that, like in this example, I'm going to be able to make a passed pawn. And then while you're babysitting that passed pawn, I'm going to fuck up the rest of your pawns. That's what it means. So when you know what it is that you're looking for and how to push that advantage, it's a big bonus to your chess. If you feel confident getting into an endgame like this and say, I'm going to outplay this guy, that's a big bonus, because then you can trade off your rooks. You could trade off the queen, the bishop. You know, like I watch Chess Boot Camp a lot, and he's like, you know, all about the attack, these early game tricks, and he wants to checkmate you, you know. But when he gets to the end game, and this guy's, you know, right around my level, a little bit higher, but his end game, I mean, he's a much better tactical player than me, but his end game leaves a lot to be desired, to say the least. And, you know, so if you're able to add this to your own game and take these, you know, these little tidbits with you here, it'd be a big help to your game. And I know that I'm not Magnus Carlsen, all right? I know that I'm not. But going back to the position that we started, just really quick, look at the best moves that I rip off here. And I'm not trying to brag, but I am trying to make the point here that I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. Look at all these best moves. The point is that what I'm telling you works. Understanding how to identify the weakness in your opponent's position, the strengths in your own positions, the strengths in their positions. These little things are going to translate into dead even end games at the beginning and turn into wins a few moves later if you understand what it is exactly that you're looking for. Again, just best move after best move, man. I played this like fucking stockfish. This was such a textbook good game. I'm proud of this, really. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something from that. The point wasn't to brag, but I do want to, you know, I don't get the opportunity. Like if I play the Ruy Lopez, I do go into a lot of depth explaining everything, why the e-pawn's not hanging, why it's okay to castle and not defend. And I have a lot of time to explain those things and explain my thoughts up to 20 moves in. But once we're 35 moves in, dude, I'm playing on the increment. And I don't have time to explain this stuff. And this was such a textbook game with such a black and white example of how to convert this that I really wanted to share this with you guys and hope that I'm able to help you guys learn a little something. So, because this guy wasn't a bad player. He's clearly about the same level as me. He had some trouble in the end game, but he was better. He was just better for you know, several moves in that middle game. But in the end game, you know. So anyway, I hope y'all learned something. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And I will see you all in the next video. See you guys.